So a very good morning to you. It's just coming up to 2 minutes past 6 o'clock here on Talk. It's me, James Max, with you till 6:30 with your early breakfast show. This Thursday, the 8th of June, where we turn our attention to the papers very shortly. Going to be joined by the leading criminal defence lawyer, Paul Britton. We'll be going through the stories, not only on the front pages, but the ones that he's picked out from within. There might be a bit of Harry and Meghan chit-chat, talking about AI. Who is a big softie? We'll find out what happened in a police cell, which is extraordinary. The continued discussion about burglary and how police are covering it. Who's selling a very big house? When we must turn our attention to those papers. And I'm joined live in the studio by the leading criminal defence lawyer, Paul Britton. Paul, good morning.
Very good morning.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in. What a day for you. This is a day where I suppose legal proceedings. A lot of people are quite surprised by this little story on the inside of the Daily Mail, which is true because it was said in court. I mean, they're sort of splashed everywhere. Harry started suing newspapers after bumping into celebrity lawyer David Sherborne at Sir Elton John's house in the south of France. To me, this says everything about how out of touch this is. So, you must know, if you want to go and hire somebody like David Sherborne, how much does he cost?
In excess of £750 per hour plus VAT.
OK, so in excess of £750 per hour plus VAT. I mean, yesterday we saw the second day of this court case, and it's interesting that there isn't actually that much front-page coverage, and maybe it's just because there wasn't actually much to say. Prince Harry yesterday admitting to the judge that he was not aware of any evidence that he'd been hacked by a tabloid news group, but he said it would be injustice if he was denied victory in the case. Now, look, the press is inevitably going to push back against this because, this is a sully on all of their watch. Having said that, Emotional Duke says he went to court for Meghan because he hoped that the High Court case would stop the abuse, intrusion and hate. I thought that given all of these articles that he's talking about, some of them nearly 20 years ago, the press has changed a lot for two reasons. One, their influence is far less significant than it once was because we buy less newspapers. Why? Because it's all online. And he's not talking about regulation of what happens. I mean, the stuff and bile that he talks about is actually on the social and digital media, isn't it? So where's his case against the likes of Elon or Google or anybody else?
Well, his complaints are that he's suspicious of how these news outlets got information that they then put to the press. But every time he is asked, where is there a shred of evidence, he says, I don't know, or that there isn't.
And he says that's why you're here.
Well, and in court, that's fatal, because you put yourself in the shoes of the judge. You've got to make a safe decision, a safe judgment, and you've got one side saying categorically we didn't do it, there's no evidence.
I mean, he seems to be putting his faith in the fact that other people, including his brother, have settled with media and news groups for sometimes thousands, tens, hundreds, maybe even millions, who knows, of pounds. Is it because those companies they didn't know, but they just didn't want to go to court?
That's right. I mean, and it's, why did they settle? Who knows, right? So, as we started this programme today, it's very expensive to use top lawyers, top legal professionals.
I mean, did Harry just want to stay in court?
It's cheaper to settle.
I mean, this sounds like Meghan just sort of said to him, because she comes from the American society where, frankly, somebody breaks wind in the next room and you have a sort of legal case against you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an extraordinary difference between our cultures. And there is a danger for Harry that this could just end up in a very expensive case that doesn't really achieve very much. And he has put a lot on display, hasn't he? I mean, it's brought all of these stories back to our lives, and I have to say that sometimes he seems to forget it's not just about him, because the people, so for example, he seemed to have no worry at all in making a revelation about the lady with whom he had intimate relations behind the back of a pub, because for her that was long gone and nobody knew about it, and suddenly everybody suddenly remembered it, when it happened, and she had to sort of come forward and say, well, actually it was me.
Well, I mean, the hypocrisy of it all, really. I mean, he complains that his private life is dragged through the papers, and then he drags other people's private lives through the papers in the same way, by way of his book. And obviously,
and there is no doubt, of course, that the fact that there is press from around the world outside shows. Look, he is one of the most famous sentient beings on the planet. But also, he's forgetting the institution that gave him that fame. It wasn't through any discernible talent.
No, that's
it's
right.
through birth.
Yes.
And I mean, I do find it extraordinary. Anyway, front pages, we must turn. The Times, summer holidays hit by biggest strikes in Heathrow's history. Sunak ready to approve Johnson's honours list. And emotional Duke says he went to court for Meghan. I mean, it just defies comprehension. It's almost as if it kind of fizzled out and if he didn't really care anymore. And it's just like, well, he just had a very expensive therapy session.
Which prompted him to go to court.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that's... I don't know, is that a fair assessment of things? I don't know.
Who knows?
Sunak ready to approve Johnson's honours list. I do think that these successive lists of honours, and I think it started under Blair's era where you wondered whether people had just handed over massive sums of money. I really disapprove of people just getting a gong for just doing their job, or because somebody's influential and they wanted somebody to get a gong. If somebody... I think a gong should be for exceptional levels of service.
Yeah, of course we should recognise greatness, and particularly in public
Somebody
service.
invents something. Somebody changes people's lives. Somebody does something, raises huge amounts of money or raises awareness for a cause that we weren't aware. All of that I get, combined with somebody who has put in a huge amount of service over their life into a public sphere or realm that we know who they are. But the amount of gongs that are just handed out to any Tom, Dick or Harriet just for kind of doing their job, you know what? I think it's a pathetic and sad indictment on our society.
I mean, it's sadder if it becomes a box ticking exercise.
It is, but it already is.
What can I say? They don't do themselves any favours by producing these lists, and when people like you and I look at them and criticise them like we are today, then again, it doesn't do them any favours, does it?
Not really. The Princess of Wales is on the front page. She's got a rugby ball in her hands.
Is this another box ticking exercise, women in sport, or
no? It's just,
what is their message?
It's just you kind of wonder what her role is.
I think she's doing a good job. I think she is. I think she's a good advocate of the royal family. And
I mean, at least they haven't done that thing where they ask royals to do something and they're in like very formal clothes that she seems to be in sporting attire. So finally, they seem to have learned.
She's got a hairpin back. She's in the right outfit, and they've actually scored.
We'll come back to this story. At long last, police are turning up to all home burglaries. The Daily Express, airport strikes threaten summer of strikes, strife, they say, but they've also got a picture of Kate. Energy firms face customer payouts over secret fees, says the I newspaper. The Sun leads on a story about Julie Goodyear, the Corrie legend with dementia. The Financial Times talks about cryptocurrency. Daily Star will come back to this story, I don't know why, about boffins and sharks. Where's the hard evidence your phone was hacked, Harry, says The Independent. Harry car tracker bombshell, says The Metro. The Guardian, pressure on Johnson after friends checkers stay during COVID curbs. But also they've got a picture of a skateboarder on the front page. He's taking his dogs for a walk yesterday as the temperatures rose. Daily Mirror, Corrie, Julie's dementia heartache, and then the Daily Telegraph leaning with Rishi Sunak to tell Biden the UK can lead on AI. 21 minutes past 6 at the time. It's me, James Max, with you till 6:30. Paul Britton, leading criminal defence lawyer, is here. Paul, we were just chatting suitably about the impact of technology. Sunak to tell Biden UK can lead on AI is the front page of the Daily Telegraph. But the impact of AI, look, you're a lawyer. How real is the disruption? Because I keep talking about and saying I think technology is going to disrupt and change our lives more than we can ever imagine, and therefore regulation is actually going to be really important here. You're in a business that I think could be disrupted quite significantly.
AI has been rolled out in the legal profession quite a lot recently. The discovery task, when we're going through documents and we're looking for keywords, there are a number of programs that will go through that those bundles for us and pull out key pages. I don't think it's any substitute for a person going through it, because there's certain nuances to what you're looking for in a document. But the AI that I've used, I mean, I typed in just the other day, can you write me a marketing plan for a law firm? And off it went, started writing, and it was a very good marketing plan, actually. So in terms of disruption, I'm not sure it's going to disrupt. It depends what your definition is of disrupt.
But in terms of getting that first draft together, because one of the most difficult things is actually when you have to put something together or write something, and journalism could very well be up there. I mean, all sorts of things. Getting that first draft is actually the difficult thing to do. And if you're able to, for example, put together the first draft that then you can put your little, cross the T's and dot the I's, basically, I think we need to just step back from that How important is this? Do we really need to make sure that AI is regulated? I'm assuming we do.
I think we do. I think Rishi's doing the right thing, wanting to make London the central hub for that. Margaret Thatcher, in her era, she made London a financial capital of the world, to join with New York and Shanghai and places like that. And as this is new, I mean, you said earlier, we need to wake up to technology and how fast it's moving. So I think Rishi is getting ahead of the game, whether or not London does become the city of regulation.
It should. Well, I think it should, because I think if
I think it should as well.
Well, it's not necessarily the city of regulation, but I think it's in the same way that San Francisco became, the sort of tech hub of the world. There's a potential that London could very well lead that. We're pretty good with services, financial services, and other services, and that could be.
But will Biden agree, or will he say no? It needs to be in the States.
Who knows? I'm not sure Biden knows. One end is rearranging the other. Might just fall over. Meanwhile, the most important thing to the Daily Star is a story that they put on their front page. Go on, enlighten us.
Is this the swimming with the sharks, and they actually don't like the taste of humans, and it's safe to swim with them?
Great.
Please tell me that's the right story.
Yeah, well, you picked it.
OK, good. Yeah.
So it's on the front page, and then it's also on page 7. It's so important.
So James will be pleased to know that you can now swim with sharks, and
but they do. I mean, there is a history of them biting your legs off. I mean, they might not like the taste, but
I think there are freak occasions where they do attack a surfer, but in general, I think it's OK.
OK, great. Now to a more serious story, though, which is this is a curious story. It's about a suspect who was shot dead, a custody sergeant at a police station. How on earth did officers fail to spot that he had a gun on his person?
Yeah, this is a unique story in itself. I mean, it's completely outrageous. The guy was arrested, taken into the custody centre. He was searched. They did find cannabis on him and ammunition. I mean, if you find ammunition, you would probably do a more thorough search, because you'd suspect a gun. Why else would someone have ammunition?
I mean, a gun is quite a big thing, isn't it?
It was in a holster, so it's a bulky item. It was an antique gun, so it's not going to be one of these small little pistols. And even though the suspect was cuffed, he managed to pull the gun out and shoot the sergeant 4 times. This sergeant was 54 years old. He's been serving with the police for 30 years. It's just a tragic story, and
it is tragic, but also it just makes you wonder whether the police are even doing the basics.
Did they do a proper search?
Clearly not. Talking of the police, they're on the front page of the Daily Mail. We've been talking about burglary. I was really shocked, to be honest, by the stats that indicated that in so many of the regions up and down the nation, police had to admit that they had not solved a single burglary case. Now, I do understand that there are 2 kinds of burglary. There's those which are opportunistic, which you may very well find extremely difficult because they're a one-off. But there are also those where there's a pattern of behaviour, that the criminal gang, whoever it is, finds a patch that they think is opportune, and they work that patch, and they get to understand everything about that location, when police turn up, what CCTV there is, the movements of the people in that area. They keep close surveillance. I mean, all of that, and then there's like boom, boom, boom up down the street, and we've seen that happen time and time again. And yet, police only now they're attending every home burglary. But I don't think this is enough.
No, the second type of crime that you described tends to be more organised and sophisticated crime, and
and I'm not saying it's easy.
But the authorities catch up with them eventually, but it might not be linked back to the burglary itself. It's great that they're attending all of them now. It's not just that they attend them; it's that when you call 999, you're not told, they'll be gone by the time we get there. Someone will come out tomorrow. They respond straight away. So a car, Blues and Twos, will come to your house, and what they're finding, or the early data is suggesting, that they are catching them in the act, and they're going straight into custody, and they're in court within a week.
OK. Meanwhile, a couple of quick stories. Who's selling their house?
Rod Stewart, I should say.
How much money does he want for it?
It's in LA. He's leaving California. £54 million is the equivalent. Big house, 9 bedrooms, dining room that sits 20 people.
It's got 2 gyms.
House. It's got 2 gyms, that's right, and a cinema.
It's 33,000 square foot. I think, you know, the average home in the UK, 2 or 3 bedroom house, might be somewhere between 1,800 and 2,200 square feet.
But he's been there for, 30 years. He bought that piece of land for roughly 10 million, brought his family up there, so it's a real big move for him.
It is a big move for him. Well done, Sir Rod, for selling his house. And if you want it, as you said, about, 55 million quid. So there we go. I'm sure, it's just on the shopping list. Meanwhile, Paul, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. It's much appreciated.